Hi there, Chris from TotallyEV, and here we're doing a dedicated audio review of the Honda E. Now if you'd like the full detailed review of the car itself, do check it out. It'll be down in the description below or on your pop-up banner. Also in the description you'll find a link to our Instagram, so if you do use that social media platform, we'd very much appreciate a follow. It's at TotallyEVnet. So let's kick off this review and talk about the audio setup and configuration. Now the model we've got over here is the Honda E Advance, which features 8 speakers and a total 376 watts of total power. If you go for the normal Honda E, you'll be limited to 180 watts of power and 6 speakers. Now the difference between the 6 and 8 speakers really comes due to the dedicated subwoofer on the Honda E Advance model, which is found in the rear seats, and the center speaker, which is around a 45 watt speaker found, well, on the center, as you might expect, of the dashboard. Now in terms of the audio setup, you can go through it in terms of the infotainment display, and you can customize the bass and treble. What's nice over here is that the treble and mid-range are separated, and so is the bass and subwoofer. So essentially pretty much all the frequency bands have been separated. In my case, I added 2 notches to the treble, 1 notch taken off from the bass, and the mid-range is stuck on its default setting. Going back in terms of its subwoofer volume, I have reduced it by 1 notch as well. So the reason I've reduced the bass kind of frequencies, it will come apparent when I talk about its mid-range response. Now to give you a bit of a taster as to how the Honda E actually sounds like, we're going to go into a small little audio demo. Now while this might not be ideal given it's going to be compressed on YouTube and through my microphone, it just gives you a little bit of an idea of how the system sounds. Now with the audio demo out of the way, let's get on to my subjective opinion. And as I mentioned before, it would be great if you were actually sitting inside the cabin. But as we're doing a YouTube review, I must give you a bit of an audio snippet. Shout out to Priya J for her song Falling. It's great. If you are interested in it, do check it down in the description below. Now in terms of the overall sound frequency and how the audio comes across to an audio file, I will say that its mid-range is a little bit recessed. So let's break it down in terms of the overall frequency bands. First off, in terms of its sub-bass response, that subwoofer is really felt, and you can almost feel it in your lower back because the way that the car is positioned and made, and the fact that where the subwoofer is located in the rear seats. Here the subwoofer does deliver good sub-bass extension. It does cut off in the lower echelons of the bass frequencies, but on the whole I think it will excite for most people listening to be it R&B music or dance music or even bass heavy music. In terms of its mid-bass, it's controlled, it's tight, and even as you saw potentially before where I tailored it down 1 notch in terms of its bass frequency because I felt it overpowered the mids a little bit. Speaking about the mid-range, here is its kind of its biggest flaw. I found that tailoring the mid-range any more than its +0 default level resulted in a weird veiled type of sound in terms of its mid-range frequencies. As a result, what I would suggest to most people is to leave the mid-range on default, although if you wanted to boost its mid-range, it will sound a little bit artificial. Now while its mids are its weakest point, the highs are actually one of its strongest points, specifically if you tailor it through the EQ, whereby it doesn't really add too much harshness or sibilance at the top end. Adding 2 notches to the highs really does give it a little bit more sparkle and a little bit more excitement. And here I also feel that it does kind of come to life given that the instrument separation throughout the cabin is pretty well done. Now while the instrument separation is really nice and you do hear good left and right positioning throughout music, or let's say even for if you're watching let's say some shows on the displays, what you'll find is the width and depth is not quite there. You don't really feel a sense of being in kind of like a concert hall. Instead you feel like wearing some headphones. So here its soundstage department could have been a little bit improved. improved. And while I'm being quite critical over here, specifically even when I'm comparing it to cars that cost 2 to 3 times its price, I just felt that its small size cabin could have really done with potential inclusion of a little bit of few more speakers, or furthermore having a little bit more width and depth in terms of the airiness of the sound that you get. So on the whole, what do I make about the audio system that's comprised within the Honda E, or at least the advanced trim that we've got over here? Truthfully, while it's not perfect in its mid-range tones and could be a bit airier in terms of its soundstage, on the whole I'm actually pleasantly surprised. Given the fact that the Honda E Advanced is around £2,500 premium over the regular Honda E, the sound system alone might actually make it worth it for tech heads like myself or audiophiles who want a little bit more grunt from their audio system. Therefore, going from 180 watts to 376 watts specifically because you've got a dedicated subwoofer might make a whole world of difference in terms of your overall driving experience. Now, as a result, the Honda E Advance gets TotallyEV's Value Award because I feel that the pack that you're paying for, or should I say the different trim, is very much worth the while, specifically when it comes to audio. Let me know in the comments below what you make of the Honda E sound system, be it its default configuration or the Honda E Advance. Would be very much intrigued to hear your thoughts. Now, if you like this video, make sure you give it a like, subscribe to see more from the channel, and of course, favor and share to help the channel grow. I've been Chris from TotallyEV. Take care and bye-bye.